Yeah, see, you can brag about your kids or your grandkids or your brothers or your sisters. It really doesn't matter as long as you put money up for it, okay?
I'm bragging because I don't have grandkids yet. Last week, I got to go on a pretty cool trip. I went down to the desert and we hopped in four-wheel drive vehicles and went down to the north rim of the Grand Canyon. And we went out on this place called Kelly Point, and it's a 30-mile chunk of land out into the north rim. And it's 30 miles, and it took us 6 hours to get down this road. It was pretty amazing. But we were literally camped feet from the rim, all by ourselves, not a human, I think, in probably 30 miles. So it was pretty cool.
Okay, that's it? Okay, so Phil, I just want to make sure, did I get enough money?
Do I pay more?
Well, yeah, because I think it was more than $10 for that drink.
Okay, all right, hold on.
I can make your son pay.
Here's 20 more.
Okay, now I feel good because I'm going to tell you, this only pays for the tax from the state of Washington on that thing. You're right. The alcohol's worth $10, the tax is worth 20, but the government has to have their share. So everyone, thank you for today. And that was it. I'm once this month. So
I'll put you on again. That was beautiful.
Well, it's now time for early leaders. We have our program that Becky is going to come up and introduce.
Our program today is Family Promise, and I'm going to introduce to you the team that's here with us. I've been talking to Brandon Fullerton for a while. He is a Rotarian from South Everett Club and hopes to join our club here pretty quick. And then we have Millie, she's the volunteer coordinator. And then our speaker today is Audria Wall. She's the executive director of Family Promise. And I'm excited to hear the program. I know it's a great deal for community. So please help me welcome Audria.
Okay, let me make sure I did it right. I was gonna. Oh, look at that. I can do it. Okay. Well, first off, thank you for having me. What a wonderful lunch. I love coming to the Rotary Club and seeing you guys. I am the executive director of Family Promise of Skagit. Our main day center is here in Sedro Woolley. I'm also a resident here in Sedro Woolley. And this job is more than a job to me. I started as a volunteer and I just love the mission of this programming. Let me see, point it this way. I can do this. So Family Promise is more than just another homeless program. We are a national movement that empowers communities to bind together across churches, businesses, belief systems, agencies for the commonality of ending homelessness for families with children. I'm going to skip all this for time-wise, but our local founder, Lauren Vance, did some research back in 2012 and found out that we had 1,100 homeless families right here in our own community. He started a spark then that spread, creating a band of community members to come together and fearlessly open our church rotation model, which opened its doors in 2015 here at Bethlehem Lutheran Church. At that time, we were serving 4 families. Our next connection after the churches is always our school districts and McKinney-Vento liaisons. McKinney-Vento programs look different in every city, county, and state. They do their best to track and serve the homeless families with children, and their ability to serve, like our program, is based on funding and community support. They're often tied by government funding with restrictions based on local funding sources. So together, we know that without stability, these children's chances of success dramatically drop. So we partner together to the best of our ability to tackle issues of child homelessness from both sides. This one? So what services do we offer? Well, our programming is very diverse. We are a housing agency first, and I have to remind myself this as we're consistently growing. We offer a 3-stage housing program. All guests who enter our shelter, our housing program, have to enter through shelter first. Once they are stabilized and have some income and are out of what we call the trauma phase, then they can begin to move up into our different stages of transitional housing. So stage 2 is a multiple families in one house paying a minimal fee. And then stage 3 is one family, one house at a below market rate value with the opportunities of gaining scholarships. Most of our families are situationally homeless, that they became homeless because of a loss of a loved one, an illness, loss of a job, a disaster like a house fire. And others do come from deeper, more vulnerable life situations like a divorce or domestic violence. And many of our guests do have some level of generational poverty issues. Our program offers more than just housing, though. It offers deep, impactful relationships with each of our guests being treated as an individual case. Not every family that calls our day center is suitable to come straight into shelter. In fact, our less than 1% vacancy rate here in Skagit County, it is more cost effective for us to serve them before they enter the shelter. Since 2016, we have been offering eviction prevention services geared toward landlord relationships. We want to help landlords help their tenants as they continue to serve the tenants that are within their buildings. Our Right Now project has been to find ways to expand our prevention programming so that we can reach more families in need, especially during the times of COVID. Just last year, we were able to add a bilingual specialist to help us reach further into our Hispanic community. We also just opened our very first county-funded program that will offer diversion services to families that are at risk of losing housing. This is not just a program, it is a practice. It is an innovative way to reduce the cost of shelter, serving the family where they are at before they lose their housing, giving them deep, impactful case management, financial literacy support, and referrals to services that are giving them the best care possible. This allows us to lower barriers and widen our reach. So what makes us so different than any of the other agencies out there? We work to keep the families together. We offer hospitality, meaning that each guest is treated, is not considered a client, they are a guest. When they enter our program, they're entering a home and they're entering a family for as long as they need us. We are not a means to another shelter. We work with our clients to create independence. We are a volunteer and community-driven program. We grow based on the need and the support of our community. Our goal is to not recreate something that's already happening inside of our community, but it's to fill gaps in partnerships to create something new that is missing. Family Promise National is the leading organization serving homelessness in this country because we are community fueled. We are community fueled by other communities and our community right here. So, why do we matter? Well, for me, that's pretty simple, because every child deserves a home. Every family and every person deserves to know that they matter and that people care for them. I believe our past, presents, and futures do not define us, and it should not define the future, and housing should not define the future of the children in our community. It should not define how high they set the bar for success, and it should not define what they see as their future. We each have a choice each day to get up and step out of our comfort zone and do something that matters, to love on those that are hurting in our community and become educated on what we can do to make a difference. Family Promise offers a platform that reminds us that we are leaders and that we are the ones that have the choice to put our differences aside and work together. I can stand up here and give you a whole bunch more stats and a whole bunch more great information about what we're doing. But I think the people that tell our story best are our guests. So today I'd like to share this testimonial with you guys.
For me, growing up, you know, I was the oldest of 3, but before my little brother was born, my mom worked 3 jobs to try to take care of us, make sure all the ends met. We were never homeless. We were never, you know, not taken care of. At the age of 12, I started to find my own voice, and I, you know, looked for friends in all the wrong places. I started smoking pot at 14, and I would always run away from home. I mean, until my adult life, I've been in and out of treatment centers. I mean, I can tell you a guesstimate on how many treatment centers I've been to, like 15. That's not including my jail time. I used to stand outside of supermarkets and gas stations and bum money and sing very, very loud. I was a disturbance to my community, and I never really noticed how big of a disturbance I was until, you know, I looked at my criminal background and I was trying to get my life right, and I, you know, went to jail and I got out and they told me that I had 38 criminal trespassing charges. That means that 38 places here in Skagit County I was not allowed to be because of my, you know, just blatant disrespect for, you know, people's rules and regulations. When I was 19, I worked on the streets. I tried not stealing from anybody or being dishonest. I felt like the work that I was doing was people pleasing, just doing what people wanted me to do, and that's what I did. I got pregnant and I had a daughter. I went to the hospital to have a C-section with her, and she came back positive for drugs in her system, so she didn't get to go home with me. And in order for me to get her back, I went to treatment. You know, I got her back at the end of that program, well, close to the end of that program. I didn't stay the whole way. I left as soon as CPS closed my case, and I was the legal guardian of my daughter. I left, and it wasn't but 3 months later that I started using, and I lost her again. And this was just a reoccurring occasion. You know, I would get clean and I would get loaded. I would get clean and I would get loaded. I would get clean and I would get loaded, and I, you know, would turn myself into psychosis by using so much. Like, I really feel like that had a big part on it. Like, I used too much, or, you know, for too long, went without food or water. You know, I wasn't properly taking care of my body, and then so I am diagnosed. I have PTSD, anxiety, I'm bipolar, and I have ADD. I realized that I wanted my daughter back, and I wanted the life that I've only had glimpses of through my sobriety, you know, each and every time. I never had a job and kept it. I never, you know, had a license and kept it. Everything that I had, I just always gave away, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I mean, I was just tired, you know, I was tired. You know, I wanted to see my daughter. I wanted to, you know, create a life, but I didn't know. And so I called you. It's been a big change. Family Promise really helped me have a stable situation for, me, like for me learning how to be a mom, and also gave me like just a place to be, that was healthy. There were financial classes, budgeting classes, how to get a bank account, how to, get a credit card and build your credit, how to make a budget list for, the monthly needs that you need and make sure that you have enough money to meet those. I also did parenting classes, workshops, and gardening, and I mean, so many things. I think it's been about a year since I've been at Family Promise, a little over a year, about 14 months since I've lived at Family Promise, and they helped me get into this apartment, and I met my husband. We've been married for a little over a year, and my son Carter, he is almost 14 months. I'm so grateful that now, I try not to take my life for granted anymore. It's just amazing to be able to, pay all my bills and have a place that's mine, and me being in homelessness pretty much my whole life, my whole growing life anyway, and, not having that one place where I was wanted, or, I would get kicked off of, property, for singing too loud, or because people didn't want me there. And I have that one place that's my safe place where everything that I have is there, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity. She went to school with the lunch she packed. Nobody knows what she's holding back, wearing a burden of a secret storm. Sometimes she wishes she was never born. Through the wind and the rain, she stands hard as a stone in a world that she can't rise above. But her dreams give her wings, and she flies to a place where she's loved. Concrete angel.
So I think my time is officially up, but if you guys have any questions, this is just one of the many cases where we get to take a broken story and turn it into something beautiful. Somebody who didn't think they mattered in the world, and they felt like death was the next option. And I know this gal very well, and I've known her for many, many years. And today she's very happy in her life and in her marriage and with her kids. And that was something I never knew could happen for her, and she didn't either. And so that's relationship, though. We all need relationship. And when we're hurting, we can heal each other. And I think that's what this program does. It brings people together to heal others. So.
We've got a little extra time.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can talk a little bit about our growth during COVID. Prior to COVID, these are kind of, I guess, my happy dollar moments. We went into COVID with 2.5 staff members. COVID funding has allowed us to now have 9 staff members. We have a staff member who is specifically just working with our diversion clients, those who are out in the community that never enter our programming. We have our bilingual specialist, so we can now serve the Spanish community as well, which we couldn't do before. We have 2 shelter programs, one for our pregnant moms and working families, and then another for our rotational model. And I left some flyers on your table as well. I think Brandon passed out that talks about volunteering opportunities. The really big things that we have going on right now due to COVID is we still are not completely able to open our rotational model. And that is our baseline programming. It saves us about $500,000 a year having our rotational model. So by being a static site, that means now we have to have all this additional staffing that spends the night in the churches, that does all these extra things that volunteers used to do. So there's lots of opportunity to either come to our static site and do some volunteering, serve a meal, really simple. Just come and serve a meal, get to know the families. My favorite qualification to volunteer is being able to sleep. If you can sleep in a bed, that saves us a lot of money, surprisingly. So, but you have to do it at the church. You can't do it at your house. Unless it's almost for a night, then we allow people to sleep at home and get credit for funding. So these are some big things we have going on. We are starting our church rotation model, but it's like one church out, three weeks in. So we're still got this big cost expense. And we have our new volunteer coordinator. We're kind of stepping out in faith right now, not fully having, it was COVID funding that allowed us to hire her. The COVID funding is gone. So these are some areas that we could always use help in. And service projects. If you guys are ever looking for service projects, we always have yards for our 6 transitional houses that need, you know, some upkeep. Or if you like gardening, we have, like Rebecca was saying, we do gardening classes, and those are all volunteer driven. So, and we have rooms that could get fancied up if somebody had a little elbow grease to come help us fancy up some rooms and do some flooring. So, yeah. I like to see if there's any questions because we're kind of robust and that was a lot of information that was shared. So is there anything that you guys are interested in hearing about? Well, good, I must have covered it all then. Perfect. Oh. Yes. Yes, and actually that's the video clip. If I had known I had time, I always love to share that. So that's our Karen Olson story, which I have gotten to know her very closely now. She's an amazing individual that I believe, gosh, it's been about 30 years. Our affiliate's been open, yeah, 30 years. So 30 years ago, Karen Olson, a businesswoman, was walking the streets of New Jersey, met somebody on the side of the road and decided to hand them a sandwich on the way to work. But that person said, wait, please, can you hear my story? You know, she just wanted to talk to somebody. So she listened to that story and couldn't believe that the amount of homelessness that was going on was happening right there in her community. So it was one person that heard a story that went and talked to some church members and did a little bit of research. And now we have over 200 affiliates. So I always think of our affiliate starters of like the Karen Olsons of their communities. And it's just one person taking time, like spread all this. And now I think our goal is to serve 3 million children by 2030, and we're well underway to that nationally. And I get to work with her now. She's older now, and she is writing a book that she will be sharing. We're hoping by the end of the year that we'll talk about the testimonials of how that spread. And another interesting fact about that is that every family promise looks different. There is not one of us that you can see that cookie cutters the other one, but we all feed each other. So that's another thing that's really great. We're really bringing innovative ideas from New York and New Jersey and Virginia and California, and we bring them all together. So if I have a pilot that I want to launch, I can call upon 200 directors and be like, hey, tell me what went wrong with this. What could I do better? Oh, hey, are you from a rural community? How much harder was that? Is that going to be for me to do in Sedro Woolley than it's going to be for me to do in like a Seattle-sized location? So we get really quality programming, and it's a family. It's not, I don't feel like coming to work is like coming to a job. I am part of a family. My team is part of my family. The guests are part of my family. And we get to say goodbye to them at some point, but we're hoping that what we're doing is we're raising leaders amongst the people that work with us, that volunteer with us, and the clients that we serve.
You made mention about working with school district coordinators. What does that look like?
Yes, one of my board members is Kim Welling, who's the Burlington McKinney-Vento liaison. But typically, we send out an email, a couple times a year, letting them know, reminding McKinney-Vento liaisons we're here, a list of new services, what kind of funding pockets we have. I will do my best to work with the superintendents of districts so that they know, so that they can empower their staff to get a hold of us. During COVID, that grew even more because the school district received all this new funding that they were not used to processing. And so some of them called us and were like, okay, we're doing our best to process this. And I'm like, hey, funnel it through us. Call us, we'll screen them, we'll send them back to you and tell you what services they need. So it really looks different because each school district is different, right? Like Mount Vernon has more workers and they have a ton more people though. Sedro Woolley, our numbers start shrinking down, but we also have less workers to handle all that. So the relationship is different in every school district. As the McKinney-Vento liaisons often email me, counselors of schools and like even just like the front office ladies will email our agency and say, hey, we got a kiddo here. I'm not sure what to do. We don't have resources right now, or can you come alongside us in serving them? And so we do our best to do that. We're hoping our big goal by the end of the year is to start moving East County as well. Am I good?
Andrew, here's a token of our appreciation for the fine program. It was very interesting. Thank you. And is there any other business anyone would like to speak out or any other announcements? Did everybody get an opportunity to sign up for the bowling for next Thursday night? That should be a lot of fun. Board meetings on Tuesday night at 5:30 at Janicki's building downtown. Anyone is welcome to attend that. We'll be talking about the budget then. With that, I'd like to thank Andrea and Brandon and Millie for being here, and wish you all a wonderful day and go out and enjoy the sunshine. Thank you. Bye. Oh, if you could help clean up or pick up and put the tables away, that would be great. If you have t-shirts